welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about another part of Job's story that really makes me think. Job's friends. At first, they actually did something beautiful. When they saw Job suffering, they came to visit him, and for 7 days, they sat with him quietly. No speeches, no advice, no argument, just silence. Honestly, I think that was one of the best things they did. Because sometimes people do not need answers. Sometimes they just need someone beside them. But later, Job's friends started speaking, and slowly, the conversation changed. They began saying things like, God is fair, good people are rewarded, bad people are punished. So they came to one conclusion. Job must have done something wrong. That was their explanation for his suffering. And honestly, I think many people still think this way today. When someone is suffering, people often ask, what did they do wrong? But the book of Job challenges that idea because Job was not suffering because he was evil. One thing I learned from this story is that suffering is more complicated than people think. Job's friends wanted a simple answer, but life is not always simple. Sometimes good people suffer, kind people get hurt, and faithful people go through different seasons. That doesn't automatically mean God is angry with them. I think Job's friends were trying to protect their understanding of the world. Because if suffering can happen to a good person, that feels frightening. It means life is not fully predictable. And honestly, I think many people are uncomfortable with that idea. Another thing I noticed is this. Job's friends talked more and listened less. Job was deeply broken. He was grieving. He was confused. He was emotionally exhausted. But instead of trying to understand his pain, his friends kept trying to explain it. And I think this still happens today. Sometimes when people are hurting, others immediately say, everything happens for a reason. Just have more faith. God has a plan. Maybe those words are not always wrong, but timing matters. Sometimes people need compassion before explanations. I think Job's friends helped him most during the first 7 days. When they simply sat with him, quietly, no pressure, no judgment, just presence. But maybe that teaches us something important. We do not always need perfect words to help others. Sometimes kindness, patience, and listening are enough. After reading this story, I started thinking more carefully about how I respond to people's pain, because it is easy to speak quickly. It is much harder to sit quietly with someone who is suffering. I think real compassion is not always about fixing people. Sometimes it is simply about being here. And honestly, I think Jesus also showed this kind of compassion many times in the Bible. In the end, God showed that Job's friends were wrong about many things. Not every suffering people is being punished. Not every painful situation has a simple explanation. I think the book of Job reminds us to be humble. because we do not fully understand every person's story. Anyway, they are just my personal thoughts after reading Job. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.